All right, let's talk about the afterlife. Most of us grew up with this idea of a final judgment, right? A pass or fail test with some divine being weighing our lives on a cosmic scale. But what if that entire concept is just wrong? What if the most important evaluation you'll ever face is when you conduct yourself? And that question right there is at the absolute heart of the source material we're exploring today. It presents this fascinating and, honestly, pretty challenging alternative. It suggests the ultimate gatekeeper to the afterlife isn't some distant creator, but the one person you can't lie to. You. So before you even get to this test, the text describes this incredible process. Picture this. You walk into a room where screens on the wall start flashing a super high-speed review of all your past lives. You're witnessing your triumphs, your failures, the promises you kept, and the ones you broke. The whole point is to give you a complete, totally unvarnished look at your soul, getting you ready for that crucial self-evaluation that's coming up next. So right away, this sets up a fundamental clash between what so many people are taught to expect from the afterlife and the starkly different reality that's presented in this system. This slide just lays it all out, side by side. On one hand, you have the conventional belief. A merciful creator gives you a simple pass or fail, and hey, maybe you can beg for a do-over. But on the other hand, the system from our source completely flips the script. You are your own judge, and you're doing a detailed self-evaluation where brutal honesty is the only currency. There is no pleading for another roll of the cosmic dice. And this brings us to a major psychological hurdle, which the character Abby points out so well. Think about it. If you've been conditioned your entire life to see yourself as a worthless sinner, how on earth are you supposed to conduct an honest and fair self-evaluation? It's a system that almost seems designed for failure if you're coming from that kind of mindset. The whole process is reframed in a really interesting way. Instead of thinking of it like a courtroom trial, think of it more like you're applying for a job, a cosmic job. According to the text, paradise isn't some kind of cosmic handout. Nope, you have to be qualified. This exam is basically a resume where you, yourself, rate your own mastery of divine virtues on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a merit-based system, and you're the one filling out the application. And as you can see, this is not a simple little checklist. It's a comprehensive 4-part evaluation. You have to assess your virtues, your understanding of cosmic laws, your control over your own mystic abilities, and you even have to disclose your spiritual energy reserves. Think of that like your personal spiritual power level that you've built up over lifetimes. This is way more involved than a simple yes or no question about faith. And Abby's passionate rejection right here just perfectly highlights the deep, deep divide between these two worldviews. Her entire focus is on pleasing an emotional deity, which is just fundamentally incompatible with the whole idea of understanding and aligning with impersonal cosmic laws. This leads us to one of the most challenging ideas in the whole text, the notion that paradise isn't an eternal retirement plan. Abby's view here really captures a popular fantasy of the afterlife, doesn't it? It's this place where you don't have to do anything, all your needs are met, and work is a thing of the distant past. That's a powerful and really attractive selling point for a belief system. But the source material comes in with this blunt, uncompromising shutdown of that fantasy. The cosmic law is presented as absolute. If you're unqualified for a job, if you haven't developed your soul, you don't get in. Period. End of story. But failing the evaluation doesn't exactly mean eternal damnation in the traditional sense. The text lays out other options. Most, it says, choose to reincarnate to keep evolving. Some just linger in the ghost world. And for those who repeatedly fail and run out of chances, their consciousness is simply dissolved, ceasing to exist as an individual. So after laying out those pretty stark options, it's really important to see that this self-evaluation system doesn't exist in a vacuum. The source material actually contrasts it with several other competing philosophies about what happens next. And this chart really paints that fragmented landscape perfectly. You've got Abby the Believer, who's counting on that free ticket to a heavenly vacation. Then there's Diesel the Nihilist, whose philosophy is just starkly material. This body, this life, that's it. It all ends in nothing. And finally, you have Rev the Experientialist, who sees our individual lives as basically data-gathering missions for a collective oversoul before we all just dissolve back into it. 3 totally different paths with drastically different outcomes. All of this brings us back to this central dilemma that the character Evan is wrestling with. See, he thinks he has a solution, but he's struggling to understand why nobody else even sees the problem he's trying to solve. Evan's solution is incredibly simple and logical. He's saying, look, if we're all headed for this big self-evaluation, why don't we work together? Why not create a soul school where people can prepare, help each other develop virtues, and learn the cosmic laws? You know, united we stand, divided we fall.
It seems so obvious, doesn't it? So why isn't it happening? If the stakes are really this high, why would anyone refuse to prepare? What is the real problem here?
And the answer the text provides is, honestly, it's pretty striking. The problem isn't a lack of resources or some hidden enemy, it's ideological. The very belief systems we've just been discussing are the problem. People are so locked into their own version of the truth that they can't even see there's a test they need to study for.
And this final quote from Abby, man, it just says it all. The ultimate barrier to preparation is the deep-seated conviction that there is nothing to prepare for. The belief that salvation is guaranteed, or that this life is all there is, or that it's all just one big experience. These ideas completely remove any incentive to do the hard work of self-evolution. So the question it leaves us with is, what if the greatest obstacle to passing the final test is believing you don't have to take one at all?